In the year 1066, the winds of change swept through England as the sun set on the reign of King Edward the Confessor. His death left a realm ripe for conflict, as noble blood stirred with ambition. Harold Godwinson, the powerful Earl of Wessex, claimed the throne, yet his ascent ignited a fierce rivalry. In the late summer of that fateful year, Harold Godwinson had just triumphed over the Norse invader Harald Hardrada at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Exhausted but unyielding, his warriors returned home to hear the chilling news. William, the Duke of Normandy, had landed on the southern coast of England. His banners raised high, signaling war was on the horizon. He was here to lay claim to the English crown, citing a sacred promise made to him long ago. As dawn broke on October 14th, 1066, the sun cast a golden hue over the English landscape. Harold's army, a formidable wall of men and shields, took position atop Senlac Hill, a strategic vantage point which gave his men the high ground. The Norman forces, around 7,000 strong, were stationed below awaiting command. William's army was estimated at around 7,000 troops, a mix of cavalry and infantry. His soldiers were well trained and equipped with chainmail, swords and shields, supported by a contingent of archers. They had also brought the infamous Norman war banner, the Oriflamme, a symbol of their might and determination. In contrast, Harold's army, numbering about 6,000, was largely composed of infantrymen, including his elite housecarls and the feared militia. Harold's troops were battle-hardened from their victory over Hardrada, but were primarily foot soldiers, equipped with axes and shields. Although exhausted from their forced march, they were ever determined to defend their homeland to the death. At midday, William encouraged his men. "Today we claim what is rightfully ours. Fight for your honor, for your homes in Normandy. Victory shall be ours." He ordered forth his archers to skirmish Harold's lines. Harold quickly ordered his front lines to form into ranks of shield walls, negating most of the damage done from the Norman archers. Harold's shield wall held firm. William, a cunning strategist, was aware that the longer the battle went on, Harold's army would receive more reinforcements from surrounding fyrd militias, loyal to the Saxon king, as well as the fact that William knew Harold's army was fatigued from fighting against the Nordic invasion days prior, thus enticing the Norman duke to quickly press his advantage and try and put a swift end to the battle. He ordered forth his entire force in an all-out assault. Harold's men held their lines firmly. William then ordered his cavalry regiments to climb the hill and charge directly at the enemy. Not an effective maneuver, as the cavalry had lost all of their punch once they reached the top of the hill. Harold's warriors, fighting valiantly, repelled the initial onslaught. William quickly realized that a frontal assault would be futile against the well-formed Anglo-Saxon shield wall. With the Norman cavalry at a standstill, William ordered them to withdraw down the hillside. However, the Norman left flank, witnessing the cavalry withdrawal, assumed that their force was routing. They followed suit and began to also withdraw. This had a counterintuitive effect, though, as it drew some of Harold's men out of their formation to give pursuit. Panic broke out in the Norman army that news of William had been slain in the retreat. William's forces were in disarray, and in order to gain back cohesion, William rode up and down his lines with his helmet removed, screaming to his men, "I am alive." He then led his Norman cavalry toward the Anglo-Saxon section that had broken off in pursuit. His Norman knights swiftly counterattacked and engulfed them entirely. This maneuver began to turn the tide of the battle. With a blow to the Anglo-Saxon shield wall, William wanted to capitalize on this opportunity. Again, he ordered his men up the hill in an all-out attack, with archers firing overhead providing support. Harold quickly reorganized his men and successfully filled the void in his army's formation. His men, more determined than ever, continued to fight with ferocity, not giving the Normans an inch of ground. Aware that his men were not gaining any ground, William ordered an orderly retreat down the hill. William, a cunning strategist, rethought his plan of attack. After realizing what had occurred earlier in the battle with his retreating force, luring out Harold's men away from the protection of their shield wall to give pursuit, William saw this as perhaps an opportunity to try and repeat that unintended success. He opted to use his heavy Norman knights to try and lure them out. After a continuum of charges by the Norman cavalry, William's plan finally bore fruit. Sections of the Anglo-Saxon shield wall broke formation and gave pursuit to what they believed was a fleeing foe. Now out in the open, William's heavy Norman knights turned and charged toward the Anglo-Saxon men, completely decimating them. Now was the time. William gathered his entire force and charged directly toward the now exposed Anglo-Saxon formation. Harold quickly scrambled to try and reorganize his men and plug in any gaps. Unfortunately for Harold, he had suffered too many losses, and, to make matters worse, Harold was struck in the eye by a Norman arrow, killing him instantly. News of Harold's death soon began to spread throughout the ranks, and the Anglo-Saxon soldiers began to break, eventually leading to a mass retreat. The battle resulted in a decisive victory for William. Harold's forces were largely annihilated, and William was able to march unopposed to London. On Christmas Day 1066, William was crowned King of England. The Battle of Hastings marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule and the beginning of Norman dominance in England. It transformed English society, culture, and governance, leading to significant changes in land ownership, the introduction of Norman feudalism, and the blending of Norman and Anglo-Saxon cultures. William's reign established a new order, with significant impacts on the English language, architecture, notably the construction of stone castles, and legal systems. The Battle of Hastings stands as a monumental event, shaping the course of English history and setting the stage for the development of modern Britain.